count the intro, where I talk to you a little bit about what we're going to do here. So I'm going to introduce you to the car actually, and walk you through the various things we need to do, and just give you a little bit of a tour through a Formula Ford, or to be more correct, more accurate, a 50-year-old Crossle Formula Ford. So that said, let me introduce you to the Crossle. Here she is. So let's do a quick walk around. If you're not familiar with a Formula Ford, they've been around for a long time, and as I said, it's a Crossle, made in Northern Ireland, and it's based around the Kent Crossflow engine, which is this bad boy in there. It's a 1.6 litre engine, been around for a long time, still being raced. If you're if you're interested in understanding how competitive and how fun Formula Ford racing is, check out the Walter Hayes Trophy and the Formula Ford Festival, most recently won by an Irish guy. So here we are, Crossle. Okay, let's try that again. It was just a little bit too bright. So you can see this is a Crossle 25F from 1973, chassis number 4. Don't know how many built that year. I know there's a 6. And a lot of these cars have been updated to the next version, which is, or the next most popular version, which is the 32F. So we bought the car about 4 months ago. It had been a total rebuild had been started on it. I'd say about 80% of it was done, but we probably have another, thinking about this, maybe 200 hours has gone into getting it to where it is today, including the body work and a bunch of, like a load of other things. It's just amazing how much stuff needs to be done to get these cars on the track. And so had it on the track about 2 weeks ago. Took us about 7 sessions to get it to run, more than 2 laps, which is just the teething problems you have with a new car with many old parts on it. So where do we go from here? Well, as I mentioned, there is a racing driver school, which is where you go to get your license in the middle of February at Thunder Hill. And I already have my license because I've raced before, but my son, we're going to enter him in that, and hopefully he'll do well and actually get his driver's license. But in order to do that, he'll have 3 days of running, and the car needs to run well and reliably, and ultimately needs to run fast. And it's none of those things right now. So let's talk about what we need to actually do to get the car to that stage. As I said, we've got about 90 days, and we have about 40 to 50 different things on our list that we need to address. So let's talk about what we got to do. Okay, starting from the back of the car. Well, let me just tell you what you're looking at here. This here is the gearbox, or the transmission, made by a very famous company called Hewland. We'll talk a bit more about that, but it's got a 4-speed transmission, obviously manual, or stick as we say in America, and it's got something called a dog box. It's got straight cut dog box gearbox, which means it can change gear very quickly, not like your road transmission. And in fact, a lot of the time you don't even need to use a clutch to do that. So, and then in front of that we've got our engine, which is the Ford Crossflow, very famous engine. Now, before we get too much further, I'm kind of embarrassed. Look at the state of that. Look at that horrible rusty looking crap that's in there. Well, this is one of the things we learned. The car was spotlessly clean. In fact, hopefully I can add some photos in to show you how lovely it was looking. But this is one of the many issues we had, being that, I don't know if you can see it here, we've added this kind of tape and some other stuff in there as a bodged fix at the track, but that water expansion tank is actually leaking down there, and so we were blowing water out of that and losing water over the session, which if you know anything about cars, running a motor without water is not a good idea. So that's number one of the things we have to fix. Number two, This is a Weber carburetor, very famous. It is a 3236 DG, I forget the exact name, but it's known as, you have various different types, progressive and synchronized, and this is actually synchronized. So there's two little kind of butterfly flaps in there that open up to let the air in, and these open together. But the bad news for us is, generally speaking, nowadays people are saying these are not the right carb to have, so we got to get a different carb. Plus there's definitely something wrong with that particular carb. So there's two things for you that we got to fix. The other thing we definitely have to fix is look how dirty the car is. And this is not the way we like to prepare cars and run them, so that has got to be fixed. What else? Distributor, you'll see various spark plug wires are off at the moment. That distributor caused us an awful lot of problems at the track, so that has to be replaced. I got a loan one, so we're able to run and get the car running correctly, so that's another thing that has to be fixed. This is a cover for the air filter. You'll see it's just sitting on there at the moment. That's another thing that has to be fixed. You'll see that we're missing a crocodile, or not a crocodile clip, a split pin, which we need to replace as well. Let's go on this side and talk about some stuff as well. Look, we're still at the motor. We haven't even moved past it yet. So look how dirty it is down here. This is an expansion tank for water and for oil. This is too small. It was filling up, and that's why there's oil all over the back here, which is really kind of annoying, to be honest with you, because it's gone everywhere, including our brakes and onto our brake pads. So probably need new brake pads, frankly. Hopefully the discs will clean up. So there's a couple more things for us to work out. What else didn't work? See these guys here for the GoPro? Got one here and one for attaching one on the back. They didn't work either. These are super loose, look, so that's not great in terms of getting good footage. So that didn't work. Let's just stay at the back because there's still plenty more stuff to talk about of crap that we need to fix. What else? We're missing a jam nut here. This is kind of important. It's part of the suspension, obviously. This is all really adjustable to make sure we can do the setup right. And these are jam nuts, and you put them on here to stop this thing from moving. There's only one. You need two. So that's another just small thing, but everything's small, but it adds up, and it can be kind of dangerous as well. Well, we're back here at the gearbox. It's not shifting great. There's something a little bit wrong. I don't have a lot of experience of it, so I can't tell if it's just like that or not. So, but I need to take the gears out to understand what the gearing is in there and have a little look at them. So that's another list of things. Another thing to add to the list, rather. Cosmetic stuff. These side panels, I think we really like the color, so we painted it black. But we want to do the side panels as well. And from experience, if you paint those, what happens is they get all beaten up with stones and rocks and crap. So rather than paint it, we're going to wrap it. But in order to do that, they really need to come off. And I don't know if you can see it down here. It's all riveted on, and it's riveted along there. And got the water hoses, or water pipes rather, that need to come off. So it's another big job. You'll notice that the oil is out of the car, and I've got the oil filter on the ground. Why is that? Look, that's where the oil filter ordinarily would be, in there. The car overheated. Remember, we were losing water, so I need to look at that oil and make sure there's no pieces of metal or nothing crazy in there. And same thing with the oil filter. I need to take it apart and just understand, hopefully there's no metal or anything horrible in there, which would suggest something more significant. Okay, what else? What we're going to do now is actually, give me a second, I'm going to take the bodywork off because we got to look underneath. Okay, let's actually show you how to take bodywork off one of these bad boys. So they have something called Zeus buttons. I don't know if you can see that from there, but they're little twisty guys. Most of these are not on the nose cone because I just sat it there for you to see. But the nose cone comes off first. And then this car has a scoop. That's the radiator on the front to keep it cool. So the scoop for right now is just sitting there, so you can see it slowly coming apart. All this stuff, by the way, is fiberglass. It's pretty lightweight stuff. It's kind of nice. Now we'll move the steering wheel out of the way. And I only got any Zeus buttons on this one right now, so this is going to come straight off. And that's how the bodywork comes off. You'll notice that there was no rear bodywork. Why is that? Well, actually, this car did originally come with small piece of rear bodywork, but by the time we got it, it no longer had the bodywork. So add one more thing to the list of things we need to sort out on the car. Okay, let's talk about stuff we need to do. So obviously we've got all the stuff at the back that we need to clean up. Let's look at our dash. You'll notice there's a big hole in the middle here. What was there? Well, our rev counter, our tachometer. So had problems with that, borrowed one for the weekend, need a new one of those. Those things are expensive, so add that into the budget. Let me see here. This guy is a fire extinguisher, and in case of emergency, there will be nozzles. There's the nozzle there. So the fire suppressant in there comes out here, and whoever's driving at the time will get a nice dose of fire suppressant on them. That location I don't like. I want it further in the car, so that nozzle and all the piping needs to be fixed. The other nozzle comes all the way back in here somewhere. You can see it just in there. I don't like the location of that either. Hopefully you can see it. When a car catches fire, most of the time it's going to be fuel related. This is where all the fuel comes out of the fuel cell up in here, and so I prefer it to be up, pointing in and around here somewhere. So that has got to be done. Those belts are brand new, which is fantastic. Of course we had to buy them. So you'll see the fuel goes in here, and it goes into something called a fuel cell, and maybe later on we'll take it apart and show you what that looks like. But that fuel cell has got foam in it, so if you ever have an accident, that just helps kind of keep the fuel in there rather than the fuel cell breaking apart and fuel going everywhere. They're expensive, and even though that's only been used once, it's actually kind of a couple of years old, so it needs to be recertified. So the fuel cell, would you believe, has to come out and get shipped to Seattle to get recertified. Then we'll get it back and then we can put it in. That'll take at least a month, I would think, for that to happen. And then let's talk about the biggest problem that we have. So, you know, this is the chassis, the various pieces of metal going along here. This is an old car. On a newer car, you'd see a lot more bars going everywhere to protect stuff. And that's a little bit of an issue. I want this car to be a little bit safer, and typically kind of two core components that you want in a car like this, in an open wheel, single-seater race car, is you want your main roll hoop, this guy here. So if the car ends up upside down, you want to have a good roll hoop, which is good. This is not a great roll hoop for the main reason that it's too low for either myself or Luke. Luke's a lot taller than me. So our head would probably be dragging on the ground. And the other sort of key component, the way of testing this is you also want a front roll hoop. So see this dash here? So typically you would have some bars going over and up to support the car. So if it did go upside down, it would rest on this, and ideally this as well. And this design of car doesn't actually have that roll hoop. Look, you'll see it's just a brace kind of for the steering column. That's a pretty big issue, and it's a big job. So in one sense, it's kind of good that the fuel cell has to come out to get recertified, because it would have to come out anyway. Those side panels probably need to come off anyway to build kind of the front roll hoop. So that's really the biggest job that we're going to have to do. So we'll take as much stuff out as we need to, and then of course we're getting back into this, so we don't have a trailer or a tow vehicle right now, so that's making things challenging. But we'll need to strip it down and then find somebody. I have somebody in mind to do it, so hopefully that'll happen. We need to find the budget to do it, and we need to get it to that person. I'm hoping we can get it out to them in the next 2 weeks, and then give them 3 or 4 weeks to do it, and we get it back before the new year, and then over the new year we'll start putting pieces back together. But there's a lot of work to do before then. Okay, let's give you another little bit of tour. So if we look in here, you'll see this is often called a pedal box, right? Your accelerator, your brake, your clutch, and that's just a footrest in there, if you can see that. For various reasons, I prefer a left foot brake. So if you drive a road car, you might be thinking, well, I never use my left foot because I drive an automatic, or if I drive a stick, it's for the clutch. Well, in a race car, we like to use the left foot for various reasons. One, I personally kind of train my left foot to be stronger and more sensitive than my right foot for braking. But the other one is just it suits remember I talked about the Hewland gearbox and the dog gears. It's a little bit easier to work that transmission with a left foot brake. Now, if you look at that, your left foot would be on this side. There is not a lot of room for your left foot, so this requires a fairly significant change in the setup down there. So that's a little bit of a stretch goal. I'm not sure if we'll actually make it that far in terms of reconfiguring the braking, but it's possible that I'll be able to get the fabricator to do the roll hoop and that work at the same time, which might help us out. So that's it. That's the Crossle and all the work that it needs to do. Actually, that's not all the work. That's all the stuff that I remember. As I said, there's about 50 different things on our list. And if I just kind of jump over here for a second, this is just some of the parts that are coming in for various things that we need to do over the next little while. So it's a matter of getting all this stuff together, getting people to do stuff, shipping stuff, and hopefully it all happens. We're hoping maybe to do a test day before the race school, which would be fantastic. You really want your driver at your race school to rock up and just not be worried about the car not performing or not starting or anything else like that. So that's the main stuff. Hopefully that was informative. If you've never come across a Formula Ford before, you learned a little bit of stuff, you've got questions or anything, throw it in the comments, and hopefully you'll come on the journey with us.